beyond despair. I am the guest. I am the host. I am the returning traveler who has ventured beyond the beyond.
And the misty, hopeful eyes, tears of joy, tears of remembrance, remembering heroes, beating hearts of passion and pride.
I feel high. I feel like inspired to go into areas which might have been creative blocks for me, and places where I have had trouble drawing in inspiration and practicing with this method and seeing what's possible.
I was really experiencing an extremely expansive upwards energy when you were sharing then. It was really interesting.
Wonderful. When you were speaking, it was so passionate and I couldn't help but be swept into the world of your words. What a big difference from how we started and coming to this part of the process. So much richness and so much creative juice. Look at that smile. That's the smile that made me want to do this whole thing in the first place.
Welcome to Justice. Justice is here to inspire genuine connection, profound creativity, and meaningful expression. Shervin Boloorian is my guest for this episode. Shervin is a celebrated vocalist of sacred songs, composer, author, and recording artist. A former Washington, D.C. Peace Coalition advisor for Congressional and non-profit leaders. He is a trained sound therapy practitioner whose passion is presenting live, natural sound journeys using instruments for inner peace. He sings ancient medicine songs from different world-healing music cultures. This video shows highlights of the creative process that inspired Shervin to spontaneously write and perform a song based on the poem that we improvised together, followed by our full in-depth discussion. If you need free-flowing creative energy and expression in your work, get in touch. I'm delighted to introduce Just This, Beyond Despair with Shervin Boloorian. So now we'll move into the title creation process. Yeah, ultimately this is going to be an exercise in listening. The social meditations that we'll use for this are what's needed and what wants to emerge. And this is really just to prime this space of listening and inquiring within us into what's needed. As you expressed in your intention, what's needed for the world. What do we see from our collective energy that is needed? Then we go into a minute where we just simply take it in turns to share what that is. Allow yourself to be surprised by what comes through. What is needed? Respect.
Kept promises.
Integrity.
Oneness.
What wants to emerge?
Having my hand held through the storm.
Compassionate leadership.
Followers who are willing to truly allow and accept.
Green shoots of renewal.
It's like, to me, the oneness has to do with kind of moving beyond our differences, moving beyond what separates us. And I feel like forgiveness is one of those things that it's kind of a necessity for that to happen.
What's needed is peace
Great.
from deep expression.
I love that.
It feels, I mean, already it feels really powerful. I am almost thinking that that could be a title if we so desire. If we can't find anything, if nothing better emerges, then
that's still on its own. The hand held through the storm is like the kind of the dark night of the soul, looking into the horizon, looking for the hope. Where is the hope? Where are those green shoots? How do we unearth those green shoots? Even if it is a destination, it's like you hold that as your vision, even though it may not be something that is attainable or tenable. Holding it in your vision is the important thing.
So what we have is peace from deep expression in terms of what's needed, and then what wants to emerge is this new modeling of hope. And so the next challenge is like, how can we bring these into a sentence together? So like we synthesize those two.
So we want to say that in the midst of the despair, we can find peace.
Yeah.
Through deep expression.
Yes, let's write that down because that's pretty much summarized it. In the midst of the despair, we can find peace through deep expression.
Or peace beyond despair.
Peace beyond
Peace amidst despair.
Yeah. I love beyond.
Yeah. Or even just beyond despair.
Yeah, beyond despair.
Beyond despair.
Yes. It leaves the door open for more than peace as well.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. And it kind of becomes personal and also global simultaneously.
Yeah.
Beyond despair.
Mm.
Good job.
Does that feel good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Beyond despair.
Beyond despair.
Beyond despair.
Beyond despair, there is light creating paths.
Beyond despair, there is profound nourishment.
Beyond despair, there is remaking of broken wings.
Beyond despair, there is peaceful grounding.
Beyond despair, the cries of thunderous roars and the fire from the skies transmit lightning blazing paths to new awareness, to new understandings beyond my perception.
The profound nourishment of fertile beginnings, the green, hopeful dew, the wet feet and the misty, hopeful eyes, tears of joy, tears of remembrance.
I was plummeting at breakneck speed, and through the nourishing of this new remembrance, I realized that I could repair my broken wings and glide down even amidst all of the hurt and all of the tragedy that I had left behind.
I peacefully ground. I hold your hand. I embrace my family, my niece. We're together. Laughter, beautiful joy, sharing abundance. This is home. We are at home, and we welcome you to our new home. You are welcome. We love you. Beyond despair, beyond despair, I feel light. The tension leaves. There's nothing to be concerned about. Energetically, my body is tingling and the stress and tension is just blown away like smoke. Appreciated, thanked, and left.
I was drowning in a sea of woes and troubles. I was in every direction once, turning and facing some new dread. And in a moment, I realized that I could transform all of these woes, all of these dreads, just with my perception. I could tell myself that I wasn't alone. Beyond despair, there is a feeling of belonging.
By doing things step by step like this, you kind of just gradually get into it, and then it really is this, because it's almost like an energetic creativity as well, isn't it? It's like really this space of very fertile space.
Very much.
Yeah.
There is this radiating conversation happening between me and the world around me right now that is enriching everything that's coming through. And that's really sweet. Yeah. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So blessed, man.
Yes, I know. So, Shervin, thank you so much for joining me today for Just This. It's been such an absolute pleasure to be with you, connect and create. And the title of our poem, creation, and now song is Beyond Despair. Thank you so much for being here. So Shervin, how was the experience for you?
Joyful for the most part. We've got to do it quick because the light is getting low.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more rushed than I'm used to. But I'm just kind of in the flow with what can come forward. I've just experimented with some chords and taken some of our lyrics, our words rather, and turned them to lyrics. So they sound a little different. But it's a nice challenge as a creative to do something completely off the wall like I'm doing now. And I'm completely, pushing my comfort zone, but I'm willing to give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment to honor you and thank you so deeply for putting your creative process out into a space with limited time and really just feeding on the inspiration that has brought us here. So just to be clear, based off of the improvisation of the poem that we created together and the energy that we were feeling, Shervin has immediately sat down with the poem lyrics that we collectively wrote together and created a song from scratch. So this piece is about 30 minutes old since the inception of the idea to create it even occurred. So I just really want to honor you for being so brave and so open and vulnerable with your process. And we are going to be deeply honored to witness the first performance of this piece. So maybe you'd like to introduce it and then take it away.
Well, thank you very much. This is a little bit unusual for me to be in this position to prepare something so rapidly. But I had some chords that I've been working on recently, and I thought I would play around with them. Took the words that we had in our poem, reformatted them, created some new melodies, and let's just see how it goes. I have no real idea how it's going to come out, but I'm hopeful that it's good. It's definitely pushing my comfort zone, but let's just see.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you. Tingling, restlessly, shivering, aimlessly, sometimes lightning strikes, new pathways that blaze through the haze, and the rain is replaced with your bright shining eyes that illuminate something I might have missed. Beyond all despair, beyond the past, beyond all that weighs on my heart, beyond gray clouds sits the sun, and the blue skies rain. A fertile new beginning nourishes me as I'm free falling. Somehow my broken wings open. You're holding my hand as I'm grounding to land. Where there was once a wall, now I hear heaven call. Beyond all despair, beyond all despair.
Wow.
Work in progress, but
Yeah.
first draft for you.
I'm beyond delighted. This is my dream, you know, this is really an ultimate dream, to see this process come to fruition and become such a beautiful, tangible piece like that. And you know, the story, the narrative that we put into it, the way that you bring it forwards into this song is really tangible and beautiful. And I was reliving those emotional moments that we shared when we were going through the creation, the seeds and the expansions, and as you went through those lyrics. So for me, it truly encapsulates that energy that we were expressing together, and in such a beautiful way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm so glad that this whole thing has created this output, you know, it's a, like you say, a tangible, practical result that we have co-created together, and I'm never going to forget it, that this creation was infused and brought to life by simply sitting with you and communicating in a way that is deep and meaningful and profound, and anybody can do it.
Is there anything particularly alive for you now that we've gone through this, or in terms of the song, the title, Beyond Despair?
I feel that, you know, usually the process of my creativity involves polishing and kind of reworking over and over again, and finding the areas where the things, the lyrics work, the melody works, the chords work, and that takes quite a bit of time. So to have done this at such a accelerated rate to kind of get results for us to share with your viewers was really uncomfortable and challenging, but I didn't once feel that I couldn't do it. So I feel that the process itself is a little bit of a reflection of the theme that we were going through and working through today, that there is a capacity to kind of come into the edge of the experience. And you know, it's something that I encourage my students to do, but to be on the spot and have to kind of produce is really something that that felt like it perked me up and it inspired me. And I know that a lot of my students are like, we got you back today. Because I make them do all kinds of things that are very challenging for them, particularly, you know, in an encouraging and supportive way, a similar way in which you also operate. It's a safe container. But I do make them kind of open their voices and trust and, you know, believe in themselves and their own capacity for creative magic, you know, on demand. It's possible. And it sometimes just takes a bit of relationship building. I have a feeling that if we were to be working on these kinds of things on a regular basis, that there could be, like, the sky's the limit.
And how do you mean, how are you imagining?
I mean, we could pick a different theme on a different day and, you know, start to explore different ways of that theme coming to creative fruition, whatever that could be. And I'm just thinking, wow, you know, this is how people could work together to really produce amazing art. After a while, you and I are going to start to have a sense of each other, where we're going to, like, feed more strongly off of each other, and perhaps the process will become even more efficient, even more potent. So yeah, I think it's a really, really amazing process you have that you've developed here, and I'm eager to see what you do with it next. You know?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've considered would be amazing would be to, you know, like, offer I don't know, like write an album in a week kind of, you know, or a draft album in a week kind of thing. And I guess if you did this every day for 7 days, and you literally had the whole day, and you had access to a studio, like, I don't think that you would finish it, but you could probably, like, create 7 kind of very strong, or, like, I think the crucial bit is it's the inspiration that's underneath it is very clear and there. And so, like, the polishing might take a while afterwards, but to have those strong pillars of creativity in place.
That's where the juice is for this work.
Yes.
That's where you get the most empowerment
Yeah.
is that there is a process that works for you no matter where you are on your creative spectrum, whether you're a beginner or not. It doesn't matter, because it taps in so deeply that you can really create some beautiful pieces of reflection, you know.
Yeah, I'd love to come back to the anchor actually that we put in here, because part of my assumption is that after doing that, even if someone went away and came back to this, or even if you came back to this in like a couple of weeks, hopefully by rereading this energy and then the seeds and then the poem and what you've got there, that would be enough to give you another burst of inspiration to go in and really finish it off. And where we came from was, in the midst of despair, we can find peace through deep expression. And actually what struck me when you were sharing about taking your students through uncomfortable places is, in a way, that's almost like beyond despair, isn't it? You know, that moment when you're like, fuck, I have to, you know, my creative expectations, but I have to still do it. So you just have to go through that almost despair of not feeling ready. And
yeah, because these students, many of them have never used their voices before, let alone, you know, in a public setting. And of course, the very first thing that a lot of people tell ourselves is that the voice, you know, is only meant for professional singers. But that's something that I kind of encourage my students to kind of move out of that paradigm. But it requires a different relationship, and it's the kind of relationship that you're cultivating with this process, which is really, really special. Yeah.
Actually, I would love it if you could share with us a little more specifically about the work you do with your students, and maybe offerings that you have that are going to be enduring, because this probably won't come out for a few months now. So any events you have in the short term will probably be missed.
Yeah, so I'm a sound therapist. I've been working as a sound therapist now professionally since 2011. I launched the sound healing program at the Yoga Barn, which is the first one in Bali to be part of a live music collective that turned kind of sound therapy into a live presentation here on island. And
is that the kind of the painful presentation, or the painful elements that your students engage in?
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's really, the work that I do is essentially so much for the sensitive soul, because the entertainment world kind of, I don't know, it kind of it doesn't always feel like a safe place for sensitive, creative artists to be able to use their work on a more deeper level than what you normally see with entertainment. And so sound and sound therapy, you know, is one of those things where you can go deeper and you can encourage a more unexpected way for the listener and the receiver to encounter sound vibration. It kind of creeps up on you in a way that you're not aware of, because you're just kind of lying there, your eyes are closed, you're not waiting for a recital, you're kind of just like, okay, what's going to happen now? And at some point there will be something in the program that will create some kind of response. Either you'll start to feel the physical sounds activating your body, and you'll start to feel those sounds bringing the cells into movement and kind of perking them up. Or you'll start to feel out of nowhere an emotional build up, a tension, and a release that follows that tension. And then there will be another set of instruments that will just clear your kind of mental stress, and all of the information that you had to pack in your head can just kind of take a vacation for a while, and you will start to feel a sense of ease and calm, and there will be some perhaps new wisdom that might come in because you're in a very deeply relaxed state, and you might start to consider something that didn't strike you before coming and having the session. So there are these multiple ways in which these sounds work, and I help my students, I guide them into being able to work with these sounds in these different ways to help a receiver access the physical world, to connect more with Mother Nature. All the sounds are incidentally natural acoustic sounds, and they are based on the system of Chinese medicine and the Taoism theory of the 3 energy zones. So they're grounded in these old ancient practices. And so the students get to kind of explore different ways in which they can touch another person. I've always liked to think of sound as a best friend, that because do you remember how we were working with our words and how it was like, at some point something rang true, and it was like a bell going off. Ding. This rings true. This is the title we're going to use. Well, that's something that sounds do. They resonate with us in a way that they help us feel a moment of like, this instrument is playing in such a way that I am completely touched, because it is transferring its essential vibrational core, its essence is coming through, and it is touching my essence in such a way. So it's a reminder to be in your, in your true song, in your true melody in life, and to have those aha moments basically guide you in every step, physically, emotionally, mentally. So that's the journey with my students. We play with all kinds of instruments. We have a lot of fun. We have guest presenters. It's not just me kind of speaking in monotone through the whole thing. I have others who are experts in their field come and share, including a Balinese priest who left his priest practice and decided to want to have a family. And he has a love and passion for sound and healing sound. So he brings in the Balinese perspective, which is important. It's an essential part of our lives here, to try to understand, where the truth of the vibrational essence of this land and the people who live on it, how they operate and where they operate from. So yeah, in a nutshell, we just have a lot of fun, and we also learn about how to touch others. We learn how to befriend sound rather than it being this external stranger that kind of shows up here and there. And we also learn how to befriend the sound that is intertwined with our anatomy, our inner voice, as a healing a tool, as a healing gift that is unique to each of us.
I guess for me, that's one of my challenges actually, is kind of really working with my voice and vocal expression at the moment. But I wonder if, like, touching on the title Beyond Despair and using your own voice, if there's like something that you could recommend for people that are listening, that maybe if they are feeling in a place of despair, how maybe they can use their own voice in a way that's like a practical example that you could give, or just recommendation of something to do that they can help to use that as a vehicle to get through the despair.
Well, it may sound very rudimentary, but the use of the voice and toning vowels as a way to kind of clear the space, and using intention as you tone. So in this exercise, or these exercises, we worked with words, but the one kind of power that goes beyond language is creating sound without words. And this has been shown to activate more parts of the brain.
Oh, really?
Than even language itself.
Okay.
So it's like you get into the primal nature of utterance and of conveying sound with the voice when you just drop into these vowels, which represent the soul of sound, the kind of expansive, magnetic power that comes from the sounds that we create.
So when you say vowels, literally like A, E, I, O, U, make those sounds, and I presume just play with them and say them or sing them however feels.
Yeah.
That you can
Tune
manage.
in and you know, come back to that little ding moment where feel I'm using this tone right now with my voice, and I'm feeling it really resonate throughout my body. And I'm going to stay with that, or I'm going to play with that. I'm going to experiment with that and see where it goes. But that's really, it's really kind of opens your voice, and it helps you relate on a different level with your voice. If you're tuning in and actually interacting with your cells as you're singing, that there is a therapeutic, you know, conveying or a communication going on. It's really, you know, it's a really good reset. Plus it does all these wonderful other things like releasing endorphins into the bloodstream and helping to balance the hemispheres of the brain, increasing the oxygen flow, and, you know, social bonding. Being able to connect with the voice is something that brings people together. It's impossible not to feel connected when you're toning together. And it's simple because, you know, you don't have to sing an aria. You could just stay on 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 notes that are resonating, truly resonating. And, you know, there's a practice in my second module where I use that as a way to actually use your speaking voice as a launching point to your singing voice, so that there is overlap in your natural way of speaking and your way of using your singing voice, that it becomes less of an effort, that it becomes less tension here, because you're essentially speaking and singing simultaneously. And you don't even start to think, am I using the right tone? Am I using the right technique? All of that is set aside, and it just becomes an expression of communication with the cells and with nature, with other human beings, and with the divine.
And I'm really relating this to the aspect of listening that you shared about earlier on. And it's by using your voice and then listening with the rest of you, it sort of like somehow creates a wonderfully virtuous cycle, I guess.
Absolutely. It's the most essential one, because it's so primal. You know, before there were pianos and stringed instruments and drums and shakers, there was the human voice.
Yeah.
And there's something very untouchable about it. And I find that the human voice is incredibly healing. You cannot ignore it. The more you box it up, the more it wants to come out and play with you. It's like the soul. It is the soul of our communicative, you know, world.
I love that so much, because I'm extremely taken with this concept of like consciousness being quantum, you know, as in it's just infinite and there's no, you can go from any one point to any other instantly, as opposed to our 3D physicality, which is much more linear. But in a way, the voice kind of bridges that gap almost, in a way. I guess it is kind of bound by our physicality and maybe how much we can use our physical vocal cords and diaphragm and how whatever the anatomy involved in singing is. But in a way, it can also can become anything as well, can't it? You know, because
why do you think we have so much chanting in so many different spiritual traditions? Virtually all spiritual traditions have some form of chanting, from the most ancient to the most modern. We bring the voice as the tool of worship, but not only that, it is a tool of connection to the hidden world, just as you're talking about, outside of this dimensional reality.
Because we use it to create from that like unlimited quantum consciousness, and that's kind of the most direct way of bringing stuff here.
Yes. And when a person is tuned to their own radio station and they're making those transmissions out into the world, then I feel like that's how manifestation really sets hold. Because it's coming from, it's like an instrument, like a flute that has been crafted, and the intention is there, and it's, you know, it's nicely taken care of, and it immediately creates a response. People want to come closer and engage with those vibrations and respond to them.
They hear that depth, that whatever authentic richness in there.
And we can, you know, I give humanity a lot of credit because I feel like we can tell when things are not quite vibing with us. We just tend to choose status, or we choose a good salary, and we choose having habits, and we choose, you know, these things that are familiar and safe, over resonance. And so to have a life of resonance, it can be confronting for a lot of people, but it's also incredibly fulfilling. And if you truly want to, you know, go after what your dreams are, then it makes a difference when you're coming from that place where, you know, where that things are resonating, the law of resonance, you know, what you're sending out is coming back. It's like, you know, basic law of attraction.
But also I think the key craft or the skill within it is finding your own resonance, knowing where that is.
That's the listening.
So that you can, so that you can express that.
That's the listening. That's the listening.
And trust that you're there in that place, rather than getting distracted by, oh, should I be aligning with this? Or coming back to your own.
And of course, it's easier said than done.
Because
we have so many things that we want to belong to, and we want to vibe with. But when it comes down to it, we can tell whether this is a harmonious situation or not that we're choosing for ourselves.
Yeah, that's such a great reminder. So I figure we'll probably close up soon, but before we do, is there anything else you'd like to share, or anything that's still alive that you'd like to express?
It's a lovely process. Yeah, it's nice.
Was there anything in particular that stood out to you about it?
Just the dance between the pure harmony that surrounds us here and the adjustment that my being and my body is making in order to come into a greeting space with all of this harmony around me. It's like it takes a bit of time for the acclimation process, and it's nice to voice those different steps as if we're going, into like a greeting with the world, with the worlds, the inner world and the outer world. It's like, how's your family? How are things at home? How's the sky today? How's the ocean today? All of these things. So it's like kind of a conversation you have to be the driving point of connectivity with what's happening around you and what's internal.
I love that. I can relate in a way that I guess when I sit down and do a meditation, your mind's constantly going, oh, what about this? What about this? It's like, yeah. And then expanding that to your interactions with all the elements.
Yeah, and then that takes over and this becomes more muted, which is really nice because the observation is what helps the volume of one sort of supplant the noise of the other, the harmony supplanting the kind of the busy activity.
I really felt deepening in that one.
Yeah. It's definitely peels another layer off. I particularly like it when we get into listening mode, because that's really so much about my craft. My field of passion is all about listening. And this is exactly what makes a difference in the world on so many levels.
Listening makes the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an art. I call it the art of listening, because it's something we've forgotten to do in modern day times.
Yeah, please share a bit more.
Well, I love this quote by Russell Paul in the book The Yoga of Sound, where he says that there isn't a single problem in the world that can't be better addressed through listening, through deeper listening. Most of our human-made problems are as a result of a lack of listening. And so most people just associate listening with just what goes through the ears. But the ears are the teachers for us to be able to transfer that sense to all the different senses. It's like a gateway that can allow us to listen on all different levels. You remember the song about the rainbow when we sang as a child, yes? Listen with your eyes, listen with your eyes. Do you remember that? I can sing a rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
One of the lines is listen with your eyes. So listen with your touch, listen with your taste, listen with what your body is experiencing in the moment, listen with your food and what you're ingesting, listen with the company you keep, the lover that you embrace. Yeah, there's no end to the listening. You can go from the macro to the very, very microscopic.
Thank you. I absolutely love that and totally resonate with it. It's quite often with the work I do as well, it's really the most progress comes from just doing that,
It's pure presence when you can access that space. It's a work in progress, of course, because there are things that get hurled at us every day that either distract us or numb us.
Yeah.
Like I lived a lot of my life re-listening, learning how to listen. That's the better way to put it. I lost the value of listening. I lost the capacity to listen. And when everything is so quick and my attention has to drift, I still struggle. I still have a lot of trouble listening. When you're dealing with musicians in life, you just are always distracted. You know, pick up something and play it. So it was a huge education.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To listen first.
Yeah.
Touch the instrument and connect with it.
Thank you.
Listen to its song before it's even played.
Now I'm even thinking about like the materials and everything that are in it, and listening to those and the resonance
and taking time to be with it, you know, without playing it, without it needing to do something for you. It completely changes your whole relationship with any instrument. Your voice primarily, it's the number one healing instrument we have. We're experiencing how it has the power to do that.
Yeah.
And to build a relationship with it where it has a different way of relating to you, a deeper and more meaningful way of expressing, rather than it being used as something, you know, as like a tool to get something you want. Very, very beautiful co-creation. I loved it.
Yeah.
It's such a rich combination of appreciation, of being real with where the world is, where the inner world is, and meditating, immersing into the theme, checking in over and over again with each other, receiving and giving, you know, flowing together, and then coming with trusting each other, really. It's a really very, very magical process you have.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, very rich, many, many beautiful layers.
Thank you. I'm deeply honored to participate in it with you, and also I guess the trust that you said at the end there, you know, thank you so much for, you know, trusting in it. And yeah,
I don't know about you, but I feel like I've peeled away so many layers just in this last couple hours with you, of up to the point where I'm just in this very raw, open space, but not feeling like it's been this kind of instructional, herded thing. It's been this joint journey. You know,
yeah,
we've kind of adventured together.
Yeah.
And without moving anywhere, not going anywhere.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's very much, I'm really delighted to hear you say that, because I really just want to like present avenues for adventure that we can go down together, and it's crucial that we do it together, you know.
It's really, really impressive. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I get so much joy and, you know, depth of experience out of these processes as well. I'm really delighted to be accompanied by you in it, you know.
I feel it. I feel you are so in your bliss when you're doing this, and so present. And yeah, it's really disarming, and it captivates me. It kind of draws me in further into this world with you, where we just can express openly and, you know, journey through wounds and hopes, and go beyond despair.
And what I'm beginning to realize more and more with this is I think what we have in common is like this emotional journey that we've gone on, and with the words that we've shared related to that. But then I think then it also equally branches off for our own discrete memories to specific touch points, but then that sort of like the energy of that is shared somehow. So even though we're referencing slightly different things in our head that we probably we might talk about later, but it's still, I don't know, there's this double aspect to it, and it's somehow magical about that because we get these distinctly individual experiences, but it's together.
Yes.
We're sort of going to those individual depths together.
It's an intimate form of relating.
Yeah.
Through a creative process, which is just, you know, so lovely, so well put together, and really thoughtful on your part. So thank you. I'm really pleased with our co-creation.
Yeah, and it also, I think also it has this sort of element of like, it kind of almost doesn't matter what comes out, because the experience of connection that you've described is the most important thing, you know.
Yes.
And we have this, and this is like a souvenir of that, you know.
It's a souvenir, and the beauty of it is that it's just genuine, you know. It's like, it's not something that has been kind of pushed upon anybody, or kind of, it's entirely unique. If we come back here tomorrow and we did the same thing, it would be an entirely different expression that would come through.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
That's really the essence of creativity, is the same thing but different. And you've come up with a really brilliant method here.
Thank you. I'm really, really honored with you talking about it in that way. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bobby.
I mean, especially, you know, knowing you and the work you do and the creativity you do, for you to share about it like this, I'm deeply, heart-warmed, and
You've got something special here, and I find that this is the sort of thing that people who long to get into creativity, but perhaps don't know where to start, and have some kind of desire to merge the worlds of creativity and spirituality, that this is a really ideal launching point. Yeah, I wish there were more of you. I wish we could clone you.
Well, I'm available, so. But yeah, thank you so much for that. I just want to reiterate how delightful it's been today to connect and create and express with you. And I'm so grateful for you and your participation and all of the magical skills and creativity that you've brought today and have shown us, even with the comfort zone stretching and everything. It's really quite phenomenal. So
it was absolutely my pleasure. Thank you, Bobby. Thanks for the invitation.